Welcome into Dynasty Mode, the unofficial EA Sports college football game podcast. My name is Arky Shea. That is Demetri Rivanos Demetri. Hello, my friend. How are you?
Hello, Arky. I am great. How was your visit to nearby where EA Sports makes this game?
Yes, I went to beautiful Safety Harbor, Florida,
Mm-hmm.
where I saw almost 4 rays of sunshine the entire time I was there.
I prefer Danger Pier, Florida, myself.
Oh, you know what? I did think about on the way home going by there. Uh, Turns out it's just like a Ron John,
Yeah.
is it Ron John surf shop? Is
Well,
that what it
it's
is?
it's a it's a single sovereign ski-doo, and wherever it travels, that is the nation of Danger Pier.
Oh, much represent. Keep that flag a flying. Danger
Mm-hmm.
Pier, always respect to you. Props it out. Dimitri, this podcast is all about championships because our teams in the National Football League, of course, since the Super Bowl is coming up upon us, one more than the other, have recently had a chance for a championship, but currently are not eligible.
I did decide over the weekend that the Eagles Stadium, Lincoln Financial Field, is officially University of Alabama property. It is our embassy in the state of Pennsylvania. So very similar to how if you go into, say, the Peruvian embassy in Washington, you are on Peru's soil. So technically, my team is playing for a Super Bowl.
You are my favorite thing on Twitter right now, based on all the people I follow,
Oh,
which is, guess what? Alabama owns the NFL,
that's right.
baby. They own it, the NFL.
That's right. For people that do not follow me on Twitter, I declared on Sunday that not only is Jalen Hurts a Alabama quarterback, so is Patrick Mahomes until the Super Bowl is over.
Oh, and that's the wonderful thing because you're gonna win either way.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
that's the wonderful thing about it. But this does pertain to those guys, kind of semi-technically, because we're talking about championships, right?
Hmm.
The conference championships in the NFL just finished off. We're going to the Super Bowl. We'll have a brand new world champion here, and that broadcast is clearly most ostentatiously the most watched sporting event in all of television in the United States. You
Right.
cannot disagree unless you try. Are you going to try?
I'm not going to try. I am going
Okay.
to tip my invisible hat to you, sir.
Thank you, because if we couldn't get that premise off the ground, this show is going to be a slog.
Right.
Okay, so we got championships, and there are multiple ways to watch this championship. Your phone or the TV. Some people use the internet. Some people use cable, but it's all one broadcast, right?
Right.
That's what they've decided for the Super Bowl itself. College football is different. And that's
Hmm.
what makes it such a unique thing in our eyes, and has always been a unique thing in our eyes, is that they don't do things the same way. Now, the college football world as we know it lives on championship megacast territory.
Absolutely.
That is the way we want it, right? Because if I can't watch the main feed, let me watch Dude Perfect or whatever. Let me watch a
That's
different.
right. I want 60 minutes of Skycam.
That's right. But we have all the different options for megacast to be
Yep.
able to watch, a couple of select events like that. The championships being most predominantly that. So what I thought is interesting now, Dimitri, is that in 2024, when this game comes out, we're going to be deep into megacast era. Like we have had megacast for a while now.
I mean, by
We
2024, we're talking nearly 15 years of megacast for at least for college football's championship game.
Yes, so we are deep, deep, deep into not only megacast, but megacast actually doing pretty good numbers.
Yeah.
Considering what they are, right? Most people watch the main feed clearly, but other megacasts, like the coaches version, which they got rid of for some reason for the
Oh,
last year,
single tier.
uh, did really pretty respectable numbers on the alternate channels. So we thought, what could that look like in the game itself?
So
Like,
I think that one of the interesting things here is I don't quite know how to ask this, but are we talking like depending on the view you use, because I mean, like every sports game, you can change the camera angle, right? Like, is it depending on the view you use, you get a different experience? Or, and I'm not dismissing this as a possibility, in the middle of the game, suddenly do you go to the Pat McAfee feed and it looks completely different from the way you've been playing the entire game?
Well, I think okay, because it's not our job generally, Dimitri, to figure out what's possible. It's what we
Sure.
want,
Sure.
right? So we're gonna dream here a little bit. I'll say for my dreams aspect, I don't want to change the feed in the middle of the game.
Ah,
Okay.
okay.
And by the way, this is more than just about megacast. It's about making the championship feel like a big event in the video game, which I would
Arky,
argue
the old
it did
games have
not.
confetti that come down. What are you talking about?
Oh, hold on. Could we try putting the coach on the shoulders of 6 dudes?
You know what, Arky? That happens too. So I'm still not quite understanding what your problem is with the way it's been in the past.
You know what? I apologize.
So
We
the
could delete this episode now and start
yeah,
over with
good.
something different.
So the buildup has to be a big part of this, right? Because
Yeah.
if you think about any national championship game, you do get a week of whatever. I mean, like this year, there was there was following around the two teams when they arrived in LA. In the past, there have been sit downs, where I don't know, Nick Saban and Dabo Swinney sit down and do an interview together. There have been rewinds of the entire season that air on the respective conference networks. Like, I do think there has to be some sort of build-up. Certainly, you should be able to skip through it if you want to, but I think that in part builds the hype a little bit.
Oh, 100% it does. And let's also start by noting that even in the playoff, the hype for the championship game is much different than the playoff leading up to it. Right?
Sure.
The playoff games are important and they mean something, and you do a little bit extra on the front end of those if you want to. But the front end of the national championship game is what we're focusing on here.
Yeah.
So we've seen intros for all the games where the commentary is saying something. We have had headgear picks before in the game itself. We have had variations of things that make the game feel a little bit bigger than just sort of a regional broadcast that you're doing on the game. However, the national championship always felt like to me in the game that it was like a 9-second longer same thing.
Right.
Right? It never felt like this is the big deal. Because and I'll be fair to people who love Madden for example. Madden has a lot of the same issues, which is the championship game, the Super Bowl buildup. I feel like most fans want more from it. And I
Right.
don't know if Electronic Arts just doesn't know what to do with it to make it feel like more. But just having a guy maybe on a screen tossing the ball in his hand a couple of times doesn't sort of, to me, feel like, even if they run through the tunnel, like, it doesn't feel bigger to me. To me, I think the pregame is longer. You focus on the team a little bit, but then you start out adding elements that we see on TV that we never see in other games. Like, I don't know. Let's say God bless the USA. Let's get Lee Greenwood going.
Okay, so that then I think brings up the kind of thing where, I think let's be fair to EA a little bit. They are trying to thread a needle here of what do people want? Do people want more of the presentation, or would they rather get to the game and have the gameplay get whatever sort of memory is going to go into that? I would say that at the very least, especially if you are playing that dynasty mode where you are controlling the coach and that is sort of the perspective that you are playing from. Excuse me. I do think there should be an element of a pregame speech, of a halftime speech. I mean, with the newest Madden, you make pregame and halftime adjustments. I think you could, for a championship game, do that both in terms of, okay, are we keying in on, the option, or are we keying in on the short passing game or whatever? So you make those physical adjustments, but then also, what is it that how is it you want to approach this? Are we giving that Kirby Smart, like, don't let them fuck you over kind of speech? Or are we sort of building up like, hey, this was good. Hey, there's still 30 minutes, and how does that then play out in the game. I'm just going based on Madden. Like, it seems like the momentum meter is going to be part of the next game. I think that there should be some ways to affect that during breaks, during halftime, during timeouts. Like, if you wanted to add that element of, go all the way back to Super Bowl 23, right? Joe Montana doing the whole, look, there's John Candy thing as he gets ready to march the team down the field. Just those things to settle your team down. I think that is the kind of thing that both is more interesting to players of the game, obviously,
Oh,
and
look,
also is something that you wouldn't have available to you in every single game. It would be a gameplay element that is only available in the biggest game.
so the look, Will Ferrell wouldn't be available to every game.
It's not. Will Ferrell is not going to show up at Eastern Michigan Ball State.
Okay, all right, okay, weirdo. Okay, if I pay for him to, he will.
Right,
Okay,
fair.
Wow, it's weird. Will Ferrell doesn't usually show up in like a grease monkey outfit, but here he is. He clearly got on the plane.
Yeah.
So here's the thing, also that.
By the way, put a pin in that. I want to come back to that very thing.
Okay, I hope you put the pin in it because
Yeah,
I'm probably going to forget to say it. I think so. I want to be also realistic to a degree because I know what EA is going to do if we ask them to do certain things. That there's going to be limitations to it,
Right.
right? Like if we have the pregame speech, so to speak, there's going to be like 3 of them that we sort of see, and like we're going to rotate them because Demetri, you're a great coach. You're going to be in that game a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to see that speech over and over and over again. So what I might like to see is a little more maybe mingling in the locker room, right, with the big logo in the center. By the way, that's something else that this game needs. It's some real locker room motif because we see a ton of logos that are protected
Right.
in these locker rooms. It's 2024 by that time. Let's do it. But I don't know if the pregame speech is something that I even want in the game because of that. Because like, how can you customize it? Like, do you have an option of 3 and you do, square, triangle, circle? You choose the one.
I mean, that has been, given the limitations of the technology, the way it has gone. But I mean, look at what we are going through right now as people play around with this chat AI thing. I mean, clearly the artificial intelligence of storytelling is getting better. I don't know that because what we've seen so far is very limited means that would be the ceiling if EA Sports went down this road.
I don't know if it's the ceiling. I'm just wondering first generation. Like, do I want my national championship game screwed up by that? Potentially screwed up by that. And who knows? It could be a wonderful feature.
So you say you don't want the game screwed up by that. And I think this is one of those things that, I keep coming back to as we talk about this is how often am I actually going to do this? And how often am I going to skip through this to get to the game?
Okay, I'm going to be 100% honest with you. Okay, are you ready for 100% honesty?
Please, I'm so used to 70%.
I do good, because here we go. Unfiltered.
Okay.
No one's skipping through that. No one's skipping through that. If you're doing the dynasty mode, no one's skipping through the entire lead up. Because I think 100% of people are on board for the lead up. They're not. They'll get to the game, but like they'll sim through the season, parts of the season, or skip through stuff in the season because I know that'll get repetitive as hell. Like it will just keep going. All right, we've seen this, heard this, blah blah blah. But for the championship game, nah, ain't nobody slimming through that, son. Ain't nobody skipping through.
I mean,
everybody wants to see David Pollock.
Again, I will say not the first time for sure, but I will be skipping through it every time after. Unless it is one of those things that can genuinely affect the momentum of the game or how your team comes out.
Let me ask you this. Are you more or less likely to skip through it if, say, the pregame aesthetic of it is, let's say, longer, but it's more involved? Say, so maybe there's a pregame, but it's definitely giving you some locker room stuff. Let's say the pregame for it's 2 minutes as opposed to the 14 and a half seconds it is now.
Right.
Like, so if you get that, are you still skipping through the championship game lead up?
I mean, okay, so this is a good thing, I think, for people to weigh in
You're gonna want to skip
in the
the
comments.
flyover? The flyovers are rare.
I mean, Arky, I play video games to actually play the game. Right? I'm not. I was never a Final Fantasy kid. I was never a. That's the only one I can think of off the top of my head that was like hit X and then here are 19 minutes of action you do not control. Like I don't know. I'm skipping through it unless there is something I can do that affects the gameplay.
Yeah, there is. Be wowed.
Oh, now I get how important this is.
Yeah, I think.
I mean, you also are talking to somebody that does not turn on the Super Bowl until after kickoff.
Okay, we're different, but you're also Mr. Athletic Director mode, right?
Right.
Like you want all the nips in it. That's right, I said nips.
That's
you want
right.
you want to rub everything in that game, right? So why wouldn't you want to be a part of the multi-time national championship that you're going to go through, especially since you're simming through the rest of the season? Anyway, listen, that's bogus. That's wrong. You're lying to me. I don't appreciate that part of this podcast. That's for damn sure.
Arky, I'm being as transparent as I can. Lying to you would be saying, yeah, Arky, this is a great idea.
Okay, Demetri, maybe go back to the lying to me. That would have made me feel better. Now it's actually starting to hurt my feelings. The more we record this. Okay.
All right, so let's talk about that presentation. So I do want to circle back on the idea of the megacast being a part of this. You and I have talked about how great it would be to have multiple broadcast teams the way the 2K series does now.
Yes.
So
I just got an erection. Sorry, that's what that was.
So are you envisioning, if we do a megacast kind of thing for the national championship game, are you envisioning like, hey, it's just the 3 different ESPN crews that are on this? Or do you have to get into the national championship game to unlock something like the Pat McAfee soundtrack? Do you have to get into the national championship game to unlock something like former coaches talking about what they're seeing on the field?
It's probably the right descriptor of it. Although when you just say Pat McAfee soundtrack, makes me think of a CD I'm buying. So yeah. I appreciate that. Track 7, his Aaron Rodgers hit one more time. So here's the thing. I think this, to me, the national championship game is special. So sure. I think getting to that game allows you to be able to unlock some of that tracking, so to speak. I don't think it should be for the playoff. I don't think it should. We're all getting to the championship game at some point, right? Just don't put it in the middle of Maction. All right, that's fine.
Right.
It's not a thing. Even though they try to offer it even on Saturday nights when Clemson plays NC State, I don't want it for that. National championship, make it special, and maybe each time you show up, you unlock a different track until you get to finally have all of them. But once you do unlock the tracks and you have that ability to have the different broadcasters, you can only stay on that broadcast crew for the entire game.
Okay. I kind of like the idea of like suddenly, hey, you're playing Skycam with the hometown radio call down.
Look, you could change the view, right? Like I don't think that's going to affect too much, but I think you're going to get into a lot of weirdness with the. If you can figure out the audio, sure. Let me figure out. Let me figure out the Telemundo side, right? Like if they're shouting goal for everything, I mean, I'm cool with that. But I do think, going back to what you mentioned as far as the broadcast crews itself, I think the only way it makes sense is to keep it with the, assuming at this point, ESPN personalities that are at least tangentially connected to ESPN. Because I don't know how realistically I can get Gus Johnson and Joel Klatt on the same game as Kirk Herbstreit and Chris Fowler. But you can get the McAfee cast. You can get Joe Tessitore.
What I think would make more sense is what I think would be more like, hey, that is a really special, interesting thing that you only get in the championship game. Is, let's say you go to somebody, and I'll use David Cutcliffe as an example because he actually was always really good on those coaches shows. He's not ever going to get another job coaching. That might be the kind of thing where you find him and another coach, another guy sort of that ilk, to talk about what they are seeing on the field. Maybe Tom Osborne's decrepit old ass gets in front of a microphone.
That's rude. Okay, okay. He's still no. He retired. He retired at Ohio, right? I'm pretty sure he retired.
Yeah. Oh,
okay.
At Ohio?
Wasn't not Tom Osborne. I was thinking of.
Oh,
Frank
you're thinking
Solich.
of Frank Solich.
I was
Sure.
thinking of Frank Solich. Different guy. Tom Osborne, much older.
Right.
So, I think that's a great idea. That's a great idea. Demetri, give yourself a gold star. I like that. I know you have them over there. You have extra ones.
I'll make a blue star on my hand.
It's how you motivate yourself on this Tuesday. I think if you find 2 coaches, and that's all you need.
Yeah.
To get them to track a whole bunch of stuff. David Cutcliffe's pretty good from what I've heard of him. He's at least a semi-interesting guy. So you could, not every one of these guys and then are going to go make dick jokes, right? Like it's not.
I remember
it's a
because
type of broadcast, but
because he and I are friendly, and also because it was the Alabama-Georgia national championship game in 2017, I remember sort of the hype around him almost doing the Romo thing of calling what was about to happen on every play of that overtime and basically nailing it.
Yeah, and where's Romo now, huh? Not at David Cutcliffe status.
No, that's true. No one from the SEC is calling him for advice.
That's right. I think that's a great idea. I mean, I don't know if you go at Steve Spurrier will be a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
Right? Like Steve Spurrier is a guy who's still young enough to know things.
Right.
Like, and if he wants to make all kinds of Tennessee jokes and like golf references, this is the platform for it.
All right, Arky, I want to sort of. I told you I wanted to circle back on your idea of Will Ferrell showing up at Maction. What do you think for the national championship? I mean, we see this every year in the national championship game, right? Whether it is NFL players, depending on the school, you might see some other celebrities on the sideline. What if part of the intro is, maybe only a few schools have it, and every school that does have it only has one? But what if there is an acknowledgement of, Snoop Dogg here to watch USC in the championship game?
You know what? I like that. And you know what's cool about this? Not only can you add some of those celebrities, but now that you're going to be paying players by the time this game comes out, there's no reason why you can't bring Madden players into the college game for sideline stuff like that.
Agreed. I mean, like the newer, if people have not played on, the PS5 and Xbox S series, whatever the top line Xbox is.
You always get confused with that.
I do, because why wouldn't X be the top line? But if you haven't played on the new generation of consoles, like, it is miraculous the effort they've put into recreating these guys. Surely it is a layered thing, right? Just take the helmet and the uniform off, reskin him in street clothes, and boom, you can put that guy on the sideline as, look, here's Tua hanging out for Alabama's national championship game.
Or take or recreate the Mark Ingram, Derrick Henry coin toss photo. That's all you got to do.
Yeah.
For one of them, like one's in his uniform, very big. The other one is in his Letterman jacket, looking very small and staring at him.
Right.
Right. But yeah, it's got to be super, super easy to do. Right. Like this can't be like, listen, we've given you another year plus. When does this come out? Technically January 2023, right? You've got well over another year, and you've already got the dudes.
Yeah.
You've already got the dudes in your system that you've been scanning.
And that I think would give you a more realistic possibility of having every team have a quote unquote celebrity with them, because like, can you name a celebrity fan of New Mexico? I can't.
Lena Dunham.
Oh, interesting. That's not what I would have thought, but now that you say it, I can see it.
Yeah. Would have been a guess if I got it right, pure guess, and I deserve lots of love for that, but I also made it up. So, we can find out where Lena Dunham went to school. My guess is she didn't, but I have no idea.
No, I'm going to guess she went to like some really small Northeastern school.
Oh, like Penn State?
Yeah, no, really small. I'm talking like Temple.
Oh, yeah. Gotcha. My fault. Yeah. Okay.
A Syracuse, perhaps?
Oh, yes. I don't even know how they got a football team,
No.
Like, where do you even field it, right? It's crazy. So, yeah, I think that is better to me, honestly. Like there will be people that will love a nice paycheck and then will love to be scanned if you want to do it,
Yeah.
Right? Dion did it. You could have him for Florida State if you wanted to.
Again, I would point out, Arky, we don't know he's not in the new Star Wars game. Let's not promise something that we cannot say for sure is happening.
Okay, does Electronic Arts do the Star Wars series
Yes,
game?
they do.
Okay.
Arky, do you not think I do homework before I deliver my jokes?
I do now know that. I know that. Sorry. I didn't think most flip-it stuff comes with that. And now I figure out you are a well-seasoned comedian.
Yep.
So I think those former athletes are so much easier than just a celebrity. Snoop Dogg might be interested in doing it.
Certainly there are
so maybe like, a Matthew McConaughey.
That's exactly who I was about to say. Matthew McConaughey for Texas. But, like I'm absolutely going to build up FIU in this game to a national power. All you have to do is put T.Y. Hilton in street clothes. And there is our celebrity fan.
And for some reason in your season, T.Y. Hilton's at every game. Like
That's right.
Has nothing else to do on any of the upcoming Sundays. He's just like, man, had he been to see the Panthers in a while.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Like, he didn't have anything to do until like week 13 or 14, right?
That's true. I didn't want to assume a non-injury that may not exist in Madden, to be fair. We don't have to have a disclaimer at the bottom that says only here because he broke his foot in week 3. It's a little too much, I guess. Work to ask of the Electronic Arts Imagineers. Oh, nope, they're not that. That's Disney.
Nope.
Fault. Producers.
They're Imaginations.
Right. I like Imagineers. I just think that's a cool name, to be honest with you.
Well, sure.
Like it's a friendly, like, hey, imagine.
It hits everything about the Disney company. Imagination and ears.
That's exactly what it does. So I think that takes care of the celebrity part, because the vast majority of schools have somebody that has been drafted or is somewhat playing recently. And if not, you're probably playing in a really small school anyway.
Right.
And you probably don't have a lot of celebrities coming back. Right. So I think we've just solved our celebrity problem to make this game feel even bigger. Then, Demetri, I think you bring the national anthem in. The national anthem's not in any of the games. Not in any of the games. You do sometimes the big old flag hanging out. I think that may be more Madden than it is the college football game. I'm trying to think of the last time. I think when I was at one of the schools, I can't remember. The national anthem itself, play that bad boy out. I don't know if you have to have.
Can I have the option to make my player kneel?
Oh, yeah. You can do whatever you want. You can hack the crap out of that. You know that?
Yeah.
I would not. I'm a Jerry Jones guy. Okay.
Sure.
You kneel for my university at this national championship game. You're out of here, kid. Okay?
Yeah. I would like to start with kneeling, and have your options get progressively more disrespectful.
At some point, like 7 weeks in, like, okay, your option is to throw a Molotov cocktail for the flag, and I don't know why, but right. You just kept escalating.
That's right. And by the national championship game, you climb the flagpole, take the flag down, and in its place, like, hang up your underwear or something like that, while screaming "Screw you, vets!"
That's right.
Like, wow, this got intense.
It did. Wow, this felt less country, more familial. You know. We should get that kid some help.
That's right. That's the other part too. Like, you do start the game more tired because you've just shimmied up and down a flag.
That's true. You're at a zero energy for the first quarter and a half.
I
don't know what we played, to be honest with you. So national championship game, pregame, we get in. We get the game itself as far as or the pregame with the national anthem. Such you play the game, it just plays as normal, right? Like it's just a video game. Halftime, do we do a show? Do we get Creed out there? Do we get Nickelback?
Okay, so I was going to say to did we only get 3? I think we only got 3 college football playoff national championship game halftime shows, right?
I don't know that to be completely.
We got Kendrick Lamar, we got Imagine Dragons, and I feel like there was a third one, and I cannot remember for the life of me what it is.
The Daughtry?
Probably. So here are my options if we're going to do halftime show.
Okay.
Do you do one of the 3 that we actually had? Do you do extended studio segment? Or is there an official EA house band that every year You're like, hey, good for Five Finger Death Punch. They're going to get this show every single year.
And it would be them. It would
Yeah.
be the Five-Finger Death Punch. You know what I think? In all truthfulness, this should be no more jokes in this podcast. That's it.
Okay, good. Fine.
I'm out of them. I think it should be extended studio scene or studio segment, cuts of players walking into the locker room, locker room things happening while Reese Davis or whoever is speaking. But that's just like a 2-minute halftime that you see things are happening. Players are disappointed if they're losing. They throw down like a Gatorade bottle gently. They don't have to freak out or anything. But just some, what feels like a little behind the scenes is why you sort of talk about the game itself.
I think if you're getting a TCU style ass whipping, you should have your coach like flip over a table.
If there's a way to flip that on, yeah. I need Sonny Dykes, like when the last 2 touchdowns are scored in the last 2 minutes, flip it over the table on the sideline.
Yeah.
Like, why can't we just get to halftime?
I do. See, obviously, because so much of the gameplay, I mean, you hate to say it's a Madden reskin because they are taking like such precautions to make sure we know it is not just that, but it is coming off the same engine. Just for simplicity's sake, I will say, because it is a Madden reskin. Just for simplicity's sake, I get that that's not technically what it is. Obviously, there are going to be halftime adjustments in this thing, just like there are on the new Madden. So why not add a little bit to that? Why not put in some version of a halftime speech or some version of an emotional checkpoint right there?
Well, what if, and I'm again, no more jokes, we're just talking here. What if this halftime thing legitimately is like the re-debut of an Aaron Andrews type character, where you actually get like that sort of sideline going to the half?
Oh, so that's what I was about to say. What if rather than be part of the halftime, or I guess what if the halftime starts rather than in the locker room with the broadcast? What if it starts with the interview with the losing coach?
I always prefer the losing coach to be interviewed going into half.
Yep.
Like I always prefer. I hate when they do it the other way around.
And I absolutely want there to be an option for you as the coach to do the Spurrier thing and answer one question, and if they want a second one, that's fine, but they're going to be running with you.
You could definitely make that an option.
Yeah,
I think that's an easily instituted type option. I'll tell you this: all of a sudden you see, I don't know, what's her name?
Holly Rowe.
Holly Rowe, yes. Like you see Holly Rowe just standing there, and all of a sudden she's in like a sprint form.
That's right.
Like it's just this weird juxtaposition of like now Holly Rowe's trying to keep up with Dabo Swinney, who's just sprinting. Okay, so
he's got speed. He's in God's name, image, and likeness.
He is really.
God didn't make himself slow.
He didn't. God's the 4-2 guy. Right?
God's about to say God books it.
Okay, so I think I'm good with that. Now we get to the game, second half. It's over.
I say we play it like a football
game. You've presumptively won at this point.
Right.
This has to be a long thing. And in the other games, it is long-ish, but it's not much longer than like if you just beat Toledo. Right?
Okay.
I'm sorry I keep picking on the MAC. I may have played a MAC team recently.
So as long as it auto saves the second it hits 0, I'm fine with it being a longer thing you cannot skip through, because then you could just turn it off and the game's over.
Oh, I see what you're saying. You're just you want to get past the hard.
Again, Arky, I'm not playing video games not to actually play.
Yeah, but it's the culmination of an entire season of doing all that skimming through. Like
Arky, you are talking to somebody that skipped his college graduation. The culmination of blah 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 don't mean shit to me.
Yeah, but to be fair, you didn't have an X button. You chose circle, and that's why you spin moved out of that. Spun move.
Fair. Actually, my diploma is a square, so I chose the square button.
You squared it. So you square circle meted.
Yeah. Yeah, you get it. You're cool.
I do think that this, because it is that big giant finale.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have to have multiple ways to celebrate, and that's all animatable. Look it up.
Yep.
That's a way you can do that, where there's several options of that. And if you want to splice them all together for one big thing, awesome. Or if you want to save them for the next time, it's good for me too. I'll never know. but I don't want just the same, the same shot at the same angle of the losing team sort of crouched with his hand in his head,
Sure.
helmet still on,
Right.
because
Because
clearly
that's how we all cry.
that is where I get my grief taken care of inside my Rydell helmet.
Right.
Uh, no one can see me. No one can see me. It's fine. Breathe. It's okay. But I think you break some of these things up. Everyone, there's only a certain number of celebrations, probably. Some people are doing the gritty. Some people are doing whatever's cool and hip. And some people, you don't. How many? Let me ask this, Demetri.
Yeah.
Every coach that wins the national championship in the college football game right now gets put on their shoulders. When's the last time? Was Gene Stallings the last guy that got put on his shoulders after a national championship?
I definitely remember Osborne going up on the shoulder. No, I remember Spurrier going up on the shoulders.
In 96?
96.
Okay, so that's recent.
Yeah. I would guess.
We've seen it done after bowl games. Like bowl games that's happened before. Somewhat jokingly, somewhat they just love the coach as an interim, something like that, right? But for the most part, this is not like this is his swan song, right? Like this is the greatest moment of all time. This is awesome, right? Like who? Gatorade baths.
I just googled.
Bring them. I don't even think are Gatorade baths in the last game. I don't think Gatorade baths during the game.
I'm pretty sure. Wait, are they not? I thought they were.
I'm trying. I can't say for sure or not, even though I've played a bunch of those games recently.
Yeah.
I can't say for sure. I think a lot of the times it skips to the players on the field celebrating and not the coach.
Right.
Although in this new dynasty, I have not won a national championship yet, so I'll report back to you.
I can confirm that Kirby Smart has never been on his players' shoulders.
Right, and nor should he ever be. Right? So,
as Will Muschamp always shoves him out of the way. My turn.
I think you make that longer, and then I think you let that sort of sit in, and then you go through all your offseason stuff. But I think the national championship, including the mega cast, having the option to be able to do that before the game, to choose a McAfee type cast, whatever, I think then you make that game huge. You make that one game huge, which is kind of the point of dynasty mode. If you don't want to do it in regular game or something, fine. I'll give you the option to sim through all of it too, but I want the option to be able to have it.
Here's my pushback. Do you want me to wear my glasses like Nick Saban as I say this, since that's sort of who I'm channeling here?
Okay.
These things that I can't sim through, this is time wasted that we could be out on the recruiting trail.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. If they ever figured out recruiting again to where it seemed like time mattered in that thing, as opposed to just being like, it's a week. Do you got any points for that kid?
Right.
So then, yeah, you could go through. I do imagine Nick Saban just being like, listen, this is great and all.
That's how great would it be?
This entire celebration, I could have been calling 8 to 12 recruits.
I was about to say, okay, this is the last thing I'll say. I'm totally on board with you not being able to skip through this celebration. If, Arky, when you are building your creative coach, if there is a personality sort of thing, like a personality kind of option that you put in there, that you can look at him and he can be absolutely miserable as all of this is going on.
Okay. Okay, well then let me end with this. Should you be able to not sim through it as well if you lose? Should you have to sit there and
No, that's torture. That's ridiculous.
Now, what if it's not a long video? Like, let's say it's less than 12 minutes.
I'm giving you less than the immortal Elton John medley, Love Lives Bleeding / Funeral for a Friend. What do you want from me?
You've given me everything I need, brother.
Yep.
You've given me everything I need. And that's how we'll leave you with everything that we've had. And if you want more, come get it next week, y'all. Demetri, in the meantime, you should say goodbye to the good people.
It got considerably darker in here during the time we were recording. And now it looks like I'm in my closet. Save and sim to next week, everybody.